Good morning. Welcome to our kids' time today. Really excited that you came in to join us. We're continuing to talk about some of the prophets and about everything that they've done. We talked about Obadiah yesterday. Today we're talking about a pretty cool guy named Micah. Now, before we get into Micah, we got a little demonstration for you on the counter, which I don't even think you can see. So, let me make a quick adjustment. Good, because we need this right here. This is a bowl of water. Now, I've dyed it blue because, well, I'm hoping it will show up better on camera than if I left it clear, all right? Let's make it front and center. You know what? So here it is. So what we're gonna talk about today relates to this water. So have you ever dropped, a rock or something in water? You probably have. Who hasn't, right? You know what we used to do in college for a fun Tuesday night? We'd drive down to the pier. Then we would go out on the beach and we'd get the biggest rocks we could lift, carry them all the way to the very, very end of the pier and throw them in just to see who could make the biggest splash. Again, it was just something fun to do on a Tuesday night, all right? No real reason other than that. We're broke, bored college students who had no money for any other form of entertainment, and that was free. But I'm gonna use these little pebbles, these little clear glass kind of, gem sort of things, and drop them in the water. Now, what you can't see, well, let's just see if you can see it. And if not, I might have to move the camera again. Here we go, ready? Watch what happens. All right, now, that didn't make that big of a splash, but you know what happened? Boop. Huh, really interesting. I'm just gonna keep dropping them until I get bored, right? Boop. But here's what happens. As I drop them in, you might not be able to notice this too well, but if they hit right, there we go. They do sort of, none of them go in very clean. And by clean, I mean they're causing splashes, they're causing air bubbles, they're displacing water, all right? And the thing we're going to talk most about today is we're going to talk about kindness. We're going to talk about treating others the way you want to be treated. And the thing is this, when you treat others well, when you do something nice for someone, that has what we often call a ripple effect. In other words, it's, you do the thing here, let's just say it's your brother. You do something nice for your brother, right? That has an impact on how, things go in your family, maybe for that afternoon. Certainly the reverse is often true, right? You do something mean to someone, and then they get grumpy and do something mean to someone else, and so on, so on, so on, so on. But when we do something nice, we can kind of have a little bit of that ripple effect. It's sort of like when we drop these pebbles in the water, all right? Now, these aren't making the prettiest little ripples, but they are sending out splashes. And so when a drop, and it spreads, it impacts the rest of the bowl and is actually even dropping blue water all around my desk, because what we do in one part impacts the rest. And so that's kind of the principle of what we're going to talk about today, is we're talking about what does it mean to do justice, and it has a lot to do with treating others the way we want to be treated. But let's jump into Micah and see how that all plays out. And I'm going to move the camera so I don't have to stay hunched over like this. Man, does it ever feel good just stand up straight? Anyways, so like I mentioned, last week we talked about Obadiah and the message that Obadiah had for the people who were being mean to Israel, right? He had a real strong message from God. You got to stop. God's not pleased. Got to change your ways, right? And this week we're going to learn about the message that God gave the prophet Micah. Now Micah, right? Obadiah had a message for the people who were the enemies of Israel. Micah's message was for the people of Judah and Israel, okay? So like God's people, all right? And so a little different than Obadiah's. But as I read through chapter 6 of Micah, kind of the thought that comes to mind, it sort of has this familiar sort of back and forth setting. And, it sounds an awful lot like a courtroom. So, maybe the best way to tell our Bible story this week is not just for me to stand here like this, but you know what? we're going to get a courtroom on. So let me see. I need a, yes. I'm going to be the judge. And I got my little gavel, because you know the little boom, boom, little. All right. That's good. I'm not maybe dressed as nice as a judge would be, but that's okay. Let's see. So we'll have, yep. Okay, good. I'll be the judge. We've got Micah, who he's got this accusation against you. He's like he'd be like what we might call the prosecution. All right, and then we'll have a defense attorney. All right. So let's see here. Here we go. Ready? Court is in session. We will now hear from Micah and from the defense attorney, but we will hear first from Micah. Yes, hi, I'm Micah, and I am very honored to be here to speak on behalf of God and to share what God has against the people of Judah and Israel. So, we question as to what charges they have against God, right? It seems that they have forgotten how God has been good to them. It was God who brought them out of slavery, all those many years of slavery in Egypt. And it was God who gave them great leaders, amazing leaders, such as Moses and Aaron and Miriam, to guide them through the wilderness, right? Do the Israelites remember the time King Balak of Moab tried to have them cursed, but Balaam blessed them? Whoa. Hold on now. What is it that God wants from his people? What does he want? Why is it a mystery? Will he be pleased with the burnt offering of thousands of rams and 10,000 rivers of oil? Or what about the firstborn of each family? What's it gonna take to make God happy? The guy's impossible. Oh, excuse me. I believe God's people know what he requires. It is to do justly by treating others the way they want to be treated. They should love mercy, which refers not only to showing mercy, but to love to show it to others. And they should walk humbly, which they should be able to do if they would remember who God is and how he has treated them so well. Would you mind telling the court just who has brought all this trouble to God's people? No. They cannot blame God for their trouble and coming judgment. Their sin caused the trouble. God saw their dishonesty and how they cheated others, and he saw their violence. Is this how they want to be treated? They will not be able to enjoy or be satisfied with what they receive because they got it by going against God's will and against God's laws. Is that all God's people are accused of? Like, come on, that's nothing. Despite all God has done, they have dishonored his name with injustice and idolatry. Wait a minute. Hold on now. Your Honor, he's not being fair. You better back that right there, Mr. Micah. All right? It was King Ahab who had the idols. So, they did what the king and his family did. They followed them in the worship of idols. If anyone's to blame here, it's that king. No, God declares his people guilty and judgment will come. All right, calm down, you two. That's it for court. Court is out of session. Micah has spoken for God, and the matter is settled, gentlemen. There's no more need to debate. We thank you for listening. Thanks for listening to all of that. But God is really God. God is the ultimate. God is the judge, the true judge, the ultimate judge. I'm just like play acting, right? God has sorted it out. God had already made a decision. He had made up his mind and he had spoken, right? Here's what I want you to know. Okay, if you want, as part of one of our handouts this week, we've got a little coloring page. M is for Micah. All right, keep that in mind. But let me jump to our memory verse, right? Do you remember it? Actually, do you remember who wrote it? Remember our verse for the month? Is chapter 6, verse 8 of which prophet's book? Micah's, right? Micah 6:8. Okay? It's basically, in fact, Micah's kind of said it in that whole little drama we did, right? And the verse is this: "And what does the Lord require of you? To act justly and love mercy and walk humbly with your God." Now, we talked a little bit last week about what some of those statements mean. But this week, we're going to kind of key in on a little more on the what does it mean to act justly, okay? Because we don't often use that word, oh, so-and-so acted justly. That's just. It is a bit of a legal kind of fancy word that, I don't know, doesn't come up in a lot of normal conversations. So what does it mean to act justly? Well, in part it means to do what is right, okay? And one of the things that is right is to treat others in the right way. And sometimes it can be hard to know what is the right way. What do I do? Well, the Bible talks a lot about different things that are right and different right ways of treating people. But one good way, a good tried and true way, is to think through how you would want to be treated, right? Now, sometimes we might want to be treated in a way that isn't right. Like, you know what? I would absolutely love to get a whole pan of cookies just to myself. I don't want to share. I want to have the whole pan to myself. So I might say to someone, no, the right thing to do is give me all the cookies. And they'd go, wait a minute, that's not the right thing to do, right? But for the most part, the right thing is going to be a way that is going to kind of feel along the lines of how you want to be treated. All right? And so when you hear those words, act justly, well, that's one little clue. How do you want to be treated? The other way is, how does God tell us to treat people? Right? And that takes a lot of knowing your Bible. And that was really Micah's big accusation, right? The people weren't acting justly. They weren't treating God right. They weren't treating others right. They weren't honoring him. And so we got this little thing in our field notes this week that might help us. And it's this little stop and think sign, right? And so what I want you to do this week, I want you to stop and think about different ways that you like to be treated, okay? And then how you can treat others in a similar way. So for example, here's a great example. Maybe you like it when others listen to you, okay? Instead of cutting you off when you're trying to tell a story or ask a question, you get 3 words in and someone's like, no, let me catch up. And they go talking their thing, right? But we listen. I like that. I like it when people listen to me, right? So that's just one example. I bet you can come up with a whole big long list of other ways that you would want to be treated, and that would be a right way to treat others. Okay? Guys, thanks for hanging out with us this week. Have a great rest of your week as you seek to act justly. See you next week.